All right, everybody. Well, good evening, and thank you for coming. I wish I could tell you that I have all of the information before I get started. Unfortunately, we are still waiting on details for certain things. However, there are a few additional details that we now have, so I'm going to go ahead and share those with you, and then I will take notes and questions at the end for things that you still have questions about. Um, and then in the future, when we return from spring break, we will host some additional meetings once we get final clarity from the district. Okay, just know that the district is piloting an opening at a couple of schools. So Clifford and a few other schools are opening a week earlier on April 12th, and during that time, they're gonna sort of fine tune things. And so, my assumption is that we will be getting updates on how things will look up until the last week. So know that we will probably have another at least two more meetings to just hammer out all of the details. It's a pretty significant undertaking, and I know the district's doing the best that they can, but it has definitely been challenging as they've put information out, gotten some pushback, and then had to make some changes. However, the information that I'm sharing with you today seems like it will stick. So that's why we're moving forward and at least sharing it with you. Okay. So on today's agenda, we have the start times and dates for the different grade levels. We have a student experience video that the superintendent put out and that we wanted to showcase it just to make sure everybody got a chance to see it. Later on, Mr. Moon and I have chatted about creating our own video so our kids can see what it will look like specifically at Elysian Heights. So be on the lookout for that probably 1 week into when we return from spring break. We'll go over some childcare situations. So I don't have all the details about childcare, although I have some bare minimums that we are able to share in terms of like where the district is moving towards and is guaranteeing. And then we'll talk a little bit about COVID testing because there has been some sort of discrepancy on whether children need to be tested and then how often. And then we'll look at the testing video just in case you haven't had a chance to have a COVID test. You can kind of get an opportunity to see what it looks like. And then at the very end, we're going to ask that you hold your questions to the end, write them down, put them in the chat. But ask your questions at the very end so that we can kind of get through the presentation and then answer your questions. So with that, we'll sort of move right in. Actually, before I do, if you are in need of ASL interpretation, you can pin that video where you see Tracy, the ASL interpreter. You can pin that by clicking on the three dots and then selecting pin, and you will see that video on your feed. All right, so here are the start dates. Originally, we had talked about potentially reopening on April 19th. The district is saying that we are opening on April 19th. However, it is going to be a pupil-free day, and students will have some type of asynchronous work that they will be doing on their own on that day. At least that's what they currently have. The teachers will be on campus on that day. However, they will have a 30-minute professional development with the administration, myself and Mr. Munda, and then from there they'll have an opportunity to continue setting up their classrooms. And then on April 20th, we begin a phase-in version of the start of the in-class instruction, and only kindergarten and first grade will start and will have classes from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that's for their 3 hours. During that time, they will have their 20-minute recess. Okay, that was another big question. On April 21st, Wednesday, the kinders will return from 8 to 11, and then we'll phase in the next group, which will be the second and the third graders from 8:15 to 11:15. The fourth and the fifth grade will be on distance learning. So they'll continue Zoom classes. And then on April 22nd, which is a Thursday, the kinders will continue to come in from 8 to 11, or that's when their classes will start. And the second and third grade will start at 8:15 to 11:15, and fourth and fifth grade will start at 8:30 to 11:30, and then Friday will continue that pattern from that point on. It is possible that if we see that we can manage the inflow of families coming in the morning, it is possible that we will um, have all of the students come in at 8, but the district has recommended that we start with this structure of phasing folks in, both in terms of days and in time, so that we can make sure that we can accommodate everything and we don't end up with situations where we have long lines and large groups of people sort of accumulating at the entrance of the school. So that's the plan for now. I know some people just came on, so I'm gonna just kind of reiterate it, so bear with me. On April 19th is a Monday, and on that Monday, the teachers will be on campus for a 30-minute presentation, and then the teachers will work in the classroom, and the students will still be at home, and they will be working on their own. On April 20th, Tuesday, the kinder and first graders will be the first ones to come to school from 8 to 11. Second, third, and fourth, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade will have distance learning at home still on Zoom. And then on the 21st, Wednesday, the kinders and first will continue, and then we'll phase in the second and the third grade from 8:15 to 11:15. Fourth and fifth grade will continue on distance learning. And then finally, on April 22nd, all three groups, kinders and first, second and third, fourth and fifth, will all start their classes. As you can see, the fourth and fifth graders will have their classes from 8:30 to 11:30. And then that pattern will continue from that point forward. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, for those of you who are just coming in, it is possible that the staggered start will change, but that will depend on if we can handle that many people in the morning. What we're trying to avoid is large groups accumulating at the entrance. All right, so what will happen when your kiddos come in? At least at Elysian Heights, we're only going to have one main entrance. And what will happen is the students will get dropped off at Echo Park, and we will have the ballet as we normally have the ballet. And then we will have the students walk down past the main yard, and we'll have slots that are we'll have indicators so that students know where to stand. And then we'll have them walking in. We will be taking their temperature both when they get out of their car, just to make sure that they don't have a temperature, and then when they walk into the school. And the only reason for that is just for the sake of making sure that we don't make any mistakes, or that somebody gets in and we didn't realize that a temperature wasn't taken. But all students will have their temperature taken, and then obviously they will be asked the questions, and then we'll have signage around students washing their hands and keeping themselves clean and not touching things. As far as the exit is concerned, we will have 3 exits. So by the auditorium, the kindergarten will be the ones who exit by that area. So that'll be rooms 9, 10, and 11. The double gate where we normally enter in the morning, rooms 12, 13, 14, 15, 3, and 5 will exit through that area. And by the federal building, rooms 4, 6, 8, 16, 18, and 19 will exit out by the federal building by Baxter. And we're going to go ahead and just show this quick video. And the school's day will look very much like this one. So a lot of the signs and the stickers that you see on the floor are very consistent to the same signage that you will see at all LAUSD schools, including at Elysian Heights. So here is the short video.
Hi, I'm Mia, and I'm in 2nd grade. I'm really excited about going back to school. I know that lots of people have questions about what it will be like. My friends and I got to visit our school, and we made a video about our day. Some of my friends took the bus. When they got on the bus, someone took their temperature and asked them if they were feeling okay, to make sure everyone on the bus was safe. Of course, no matter how we got to school, everyone was wearing a mask. When we got to school, we all lined up at the entrance. We're supposed to stay 6 feet apart, and school made it easy by putting stickers on the ground telling us where to stand. When it was my turn, the person at the gate asked me if I agreed with what it said on the sign. Then I showed him my daily pass and he took my temperature. It only took a few seconds. I walked down the path to get to my class. I saw some of my friends going to their classes too. There were cones and lines and arrows on the pathway to make sure that I stayed on the right side and went the right direction. When I got to my classroom, my teacher brought us in one at a time and showed us where to sit. There weren't as many desks in the classroom as usual, and they were farther apart. And we each got one at a time. Some of my friends went home, and some went to the after-school program. I went to the after-school program, and it was really fun. I ate my lunch there. They helped me with my homework, and we played. My dad came to get me at the end of the day. I had so much fun. I can't wait for school to start.
Okay, sorry about the audio situation there. Accidentally got muted. But that I think gives folks a fairly consistent impression of what the day at school will look like. If you walk into our classrooms, it's a similar structure. Those plexiglasses are pretty much a staple for all of our schools. So we'll all maintain a lot of those similar elements when the kids come in. We are going to create our own video that sort of showcases what our school day will look like. And we will showcase that probably a week before we start classes so that kids can see like, oh, okay, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, and we'll be sending that out to all of our students, both for in the classroom, and then we'll even showcase it for the parents so the parents can see it as well. All right. Now here's a big one. Unfortunately, I don't have all the details. I was literally talking to my administrator, my community of schools administrator, and she was letting me know that we have a meeting, or they have a meeting. I'm sorry, they have a meeting tomorrow, even though it's a holiday, and they're gonna hopefully come up with the final details on what childcare will look like. However, at this point, I can tell you that the district is committed to providing AM and PM childcare. And that essentially means that from 7:30 to 4 p.m., children will have access to childcare on campus. So what does that mean? Let's just say, for example, your child has an AM class. Well, that class will end at 11. At 11 o'clock, your children will get their food, their bags of lunches, and they will be able to stay on campus instead of going home, obviously. And they will be able to sit down in our covered lunch area and they'll have their lunch. And then after that, they'll have an opportunity to do some after school activities through the Beyond the Bell program. And they will be able to stay on campus till 4 o'clock or when you decide to come pick them up. Well, I'm sorry, I should say that up until 4 o'clock. The children can't be on campus beyond 4 o'clock because buildings and ground workers need time to sanitize all of the different rooms. So they do need to be picked up by 4 p.m. Those students will obviously have a breakfast, a lunch, and an afternoon snack is what they will be provided at school. So now let's just say, for example, your child is in the PM group. That means that they don't have class in the AM. So what that means is you can actually bring them early to school at the time that corresponds with their specific group. And what would happen with them is that instead of going to a classroom, they would go with the Beyond the Bell folks, and they would be taken care of on campus until their class starts at 12 o'clock. So they'll have their breakfast, they'll do some other work with them, and then they'll do some activities. And then at 12 o'clock, when their class starts, they'll report to their classes for their 3-hour in-person session. And if you can't pick those children up until after until 4 o'clock, you can obviously pick them up at that time as well. So they can have, I think it's about an hour of childcare after they get out of their classroom. So like, let's just say they get out at 3, they could go from 3 to 4 to the after school program. And they obviously would also be getting their breakfast, lunch, and afternoon snack. Okay. COVID-19 testing. So the last time we spoke, there was some discrepancy around whether there was going to be a testing requirement. So there is a testing requirement. So all of the children who will have in-person instruction starting on April 20th, they will need to have gotten a COVID-19 test 1 week before returning to school. So 1 week before returning to school, the students need to schedule a time at one of the LAUSD sites or at a private site of your choosing. If you decide to go through an LAUSD site, you obviously go through the LAUSD website, you sign up for a test, and once you sign up for the test, that automatically gets sent to our school. And we know that your child has access to the school because they came up with a negative test. If you decide to go to an outside organization, then that you go onto the same platform online, and once you get your test results, you can upload those test results onto the LAUSD platform, and then we, as a school, will get access to that information so that we know that your children can come on campus. Now, from that point forward, the district is coordinating a team of nurses that will travel to different school sites. And so they will report to our school once a week, and they will set up shop, and they will test all of our students and all of our staff on the same day. And that will happen on a weekly basis. And it is going to be the nasal swab, where they'll, and I'll show you a video in a couple of seconds so you can see what that looks like. But that'll happen on a weekly basis. And so once you do that first one before you return, from that point forward, you'll never have to worry about it again because it'll just get done at school. If for some reason your child is absent on the day that they're on campus, you would then have to just schedule a day to go to one of the district sites. If you're worried and you're not sure that you want somebody giving your child the test while you're not present, they will have a PM option so that parents are able to when they pick up their children, escort their children to the testing center on the campus, and then be present when they actually test them. Or you could even engage in doing the test yourselves, okay? And what I mean by that is obviously using the swab in their noses. So here's a little video of what that looks like, just in case you haven't seen it or maybe you're worried about what it looks like.
Hey kids, it's me, Rocket. Everyone at Los Angeles Unified is working super hard to make sure when you go back to school, it will be in the safest way possible. The COVID-19 virus that's going around can make you sick. So you need to take a test to make sure you're healthy before going back to class. I did. It's really quick and easy. My friend Grant will show you. I see a cotton swab is gently put in each nostril. And that's it. Grant, how did it go?
Rocket, it didn't even hurt. It just tickled.
Great. Would you tell other students to get tested?
Sure, Rocket, because it's really important.
Remember, COVID-19 is still all around us, so your healthy habits make a difference. Keep a social distance of at least 6 feet. Wear a mask and wash your hands. Let's help each other stay healthy and safe. Ask your parents to schedule your test today.
Alrighty. All right. So I think that's all of the major updates that we have. I'm sure there are still some questions, and if Mr. Munda can help me field some of those questions from the chat, and then if you have additional questions, you can go ahead and put them into the chat.
Sure. If you guys can go ahead and put it into the chat, then I'll be able to ask Mr. Garza. If you guys have any questions.
If you don't, you can go and enjoy your spring break.
So the question is, does the initial test need to be within the week before the school opens, or a week from the day that your child's specific grade comes back in person?
I think as long as you do it the week before, from what I gathered in our meeting, so as long as that 1 week beforehand, at some point you take your test, I think it'll be fine.
Just real quick, when Christina is asking about when the first day back is, can you go back to that the first week schedule?
Yeah, no, I noticed that some of our friends came in a little after, so
Go ahead and spend time on this one real quick.
yeah. So I'll go ahead and just because I know there was about 4 or 5 people who came in a little afterward, but in the last time we met, we talked about us reopening on the 19th, and the district decided that the Monday the 19th was going to be a pupil-free day, and that students were going to have asynchronous work for that day. The teachers will be on campus. They'll have about 30 minutes of instruction with us, just going over protocols, and then they'll spend the rest of the day in their classroom setting up. And then on Tuesday, April 20th, the kinder and the first only will be on campus, and they'll be on campus from 8 to 11. We'll open up at about 7:30 and start letting kids in. Second, third, fourth, and fifth grade students, they'll still be in distance learning at that point. And then on April 21st, Wednesday, the kinders will return at that time, 8 to 11. And then the second and third will enter at 8:15, and they'll be dismissed at 11:15. So you'll notice that there's a stagger there of about 15 minutes. The whole idea behind that is that we're giving students, we're just staggering the time to mitigate the crowds gathering around the school, both at the front end and on the back end. And then the fourth and fifth grade would still be on distance learning on Wednesday. So they, fourth and fifth graders wouldn't actually start classes on campus until the 22nd. And they would start, and their schedule is from 8:30 to 11:30. And then that would be basically the consistent schedule from that point forward. I see, Brent, you have a question?
Okay.
Yes, I do. Thanks so much for doing this
Actually-
presentation. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Brent, is there a way, because others went just right before you raised your hand?
Yeah.
Can I field
I'm not-
those questions first?
I'm gonna let Ray handle that.
Yeah. So if you can put it in the chat box, it would be easier so we can keep the order consistent. So another question was, is the childcare outdoors the whole time? You know if they're going to be inside the classrooms?
So that is one of the details that they're still working out. I know that during our principals meeting, we asked and said, hey, you know, in our case, let's just say, for example, I think we're going to have about 150 some odd students who are going to be on campus. Of those 150, about 115 of them want childcare. So our covered lunch area can only sit about 60 students. So obviously that leaves us, we're short about 40. I mean, we're short about 55 seats. The district is working on figuring out ways for us to sort of move them into classrooms. And we're very lucky at our school, in all honesty, because most of our teachers don't have a PM class. So for example, right now we're exploring potentially opening up the auditorium where Mr. Garcia normally is, and using that space for another large group, and then the computer lab as another area where some of our students can go. So it is very possible that what we'll end up doing during that afternoon time, that students will have some classrooms that they'll be able to use, and we'll probably relocate some of our teachers so that the students still have a space and they can still maintain that 6 feet apart.
Okay. A question, what will the day look like for online kids? So cohort B kids.
So cohort B kids, so their classes will start at 12 o'clock, and the teachers have some flexibility on what that is going to look like. So like, let's say for example, they want to have like a general session starting at 12, and then they can break off into small groups where they're working with children.
So I think real quick, let me
Yes.
interrupt you. The question is, what are they going to do when they're offline hours? So like
Oh.
in the morning. Is that correct, Leslie?
Sorry, it's a little bit of both. Yeah, just in general, like what is the intention for the morning? And is there going to be homework expected offline? I think that, I mean, that applies for all kids in general.
Yeah, so there is going to be some asynchronous work from that the teachers are going to be expected to still continue to do. That was something that actually up until yesterday we were still having a discussion with our administration because it wasn't specifically articulated in the side letter, and so there's been some back and forth with the district personnel. So we haven't even confirmed that with the teachers, but today when I spoke to my community of schools administrator, she sent out an email and during our meeting, she said that they are looking to do some asynchronous, they are going to be looking for our teachers to do some asynchronous work because of minutes.
Okay.
Now, as far as, yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go. Were you
No,
finished?
I said as far as in the classroom, like for those PM students who are doing Zoom, they're going to have their general session. They're going to have some small breakout rooms. Teachers are just going to continue to work with them in a similar fashion as they've been doing during the first, I guess, 3/4 of the year.
Okay. Question. How will drop off work if you have two children in different grades and start times?
You are more than welcome to drop them off at the same time. And then what'll end up happening with those students who don't come in till, like, let's just say, for example, 8:15 or 8:30, they would just go with the morning care students until their classes start.
Okay. And then Brent, if you can unmute yourself, you can ask your question.
Yep. Hi. Thanks so much for having this. So we're doing we're busing from Midtown LA to Echo Park. And I think Obi is in the afternoon session. So we'll bring him in the morning. And the bus will deliver him actually, I think, before he starts LD care. Will the bus pick up kids after their afternoon session is over, like 3 or 4? What time do the buses run?
That's a good question. I don't know the exact time. I just know that they are going to be picked up.
Oh, they will be. Okay. Because I don't think I could do it if they were staying until 6, but I can't pick him up at 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll confirm that, but my understanding is that the students get transportation. I don't know the exact time that they're going to come. I've been told that the transportation will be provided. So if they're getting transportation in the morning, then they'll get transportation in the afternoon.
Great. Thanks.
All right. Next question is, do we need to fill out lunch applications for applications for childcare? Is there a separate application?
Lunch applications? No, I don't know. There won't be any lunch applications. All the students.
How about for childcare?
For childcare, it's gonna be different because they're sort of like melding, like Beyond the Bell and LA's Best are all sort of becoming one, and they're sort of just all supporting each other to make sure that they can support all of the kids. So I don't believe there's going to be an additional application. However, as I mentioned earlier, they are going to have a meeting tomorrow and they're going to have some additional details. But my guess is that if you've indicated on your survey that you need childcare, we have access to that information. And I have forwarded that information to Raylan as well. So she also knows which students have requested it. So I don't believe we're going to be asking anybody to fill out any additional forms. However, given what I've experienced with the district in terms of people changing their plans, they do throw some curveballs at us. Although I doubt in this situation that they will ask you guys to fill out anything else aside from that survey that you've already completed.
All right. Question, how far in advance can you schedule a district COVID test?
Oh, I think you can pretty much go in today and you can, I want to say that at least a couple of weeks. Hold on, I'm going to show you. I was actually showing somebody else. So you can see here,
Oh, wow. Yeah, probably 2 weeks. It looks like 3 weeks in advance.
So you can pretty much go in there right now and you can schedule your appointment for whenever you would like it. Obviously, ideally, you would be doing it from the 12th through the 16th. Those are the dates that we're looking for. Okay.
All right, the next question is, can children bring lunch from home?
Yes, children can bring snacks. They're going to have like as I mentioned earlier, this is another one we've been going back and forth with the district about recess and bio breaks and God knows what else. But it does look like they're settling on. There will be a recess. During that recess, children will be allowed to sit in the covered lunch area and eat their snacks if they'd like, or they'll have a chance to go and interact with other students. And the play, just in case you're wondering, a lot of it'll be like Simon Says, some of it'll be hopscotch, some of it'll be other kinds of games where there may be dancing stations. If we have kids doing other activities, we're going to make sure to have like hand sanitizer so they can clean their hands right before they go back into class. We will try to be as creative as possible to make it work. And if you guys come up with some interesting games that you want us to play, please don't hesitate to share them. We have a lot of things in our heads right now, so sometimes being super creative is a little bit more challenging. So if you have something cool and fun that you think would work in the social distancing world, please just send me an email, and Mr. Munda and I will take a look at the viability.
All right. Can you just repeat again about doing testing in school? I think we had a parent miss that section.
Sure. So the testing in school, the first test, the one that's between April 12th and the 16th, that one you do have to schedule on the district website, and you need that one before you can come into school on that first week. From that point on, the test will be automatically done on campus. And so every week the district will send a team to our school. They'll set up shop. They'll test every single person on our campus. We'll have our results within, I think, a day or two, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. So it's pretty simple. I think the district's really gone out of their way to make this as simple as possible for everybody.
Yeah. So we have a couple maybe concerns about eating lunch. They'll be eating outside.
Yes.
Right. And so I just wanted that to be clear, just in case you were still asking those questions. As far as we may not be able to fit all of them in the covered lunch area, but we will have other spaces. Hopefully we'll have benches and other chairs available for those kids who need to eat.
Yeah, right now. So just keep in mind that we can sit about 60, I think about 60 students in a socially distant manner on our lunch tables. And so we've already identified the same way that you saw on the video where there are like these stickers that say sit here. We literally have those same stickers and indicating where folks can sit. So what will end up happening is during that 20-minute recess, the children will be allowed to bring their snacks out of their classroom. And when they bring their snacks out of the classroom, they'll be escorted to that area, and then they'll be allowed to sit down, and then they'll have their snack. And then once they're done, they'll be able to go and walk and play around with their peers and in a socially distant manner. And as far as lunch is concerned, when we have a larger crowd, at that point, we would obviously use a covered lunch area, and then we would sort of procure some additional areas that are adjacent to that, where we also indicate how kids can sit in socially distant, appropriate ways. So nobody is allowed to eat in the building, from what we've been told by the district, and that includes adults. Like, we're not supposed to eat in the building. We're supposed to all eat outside, because obviously we take off our masks, and we would need the airflow to mitigate any kind of potential transmission of germs.
Okay. Just real quick, because someone asked if they can still sign up to be in person. Answered differently on the survey. Yes, you can. So tomorrow is the last day to turn in the survey. You can do multiple turn-ins, but your last turn-in will be what will be sent to the school.
I will say though, at this point, definitely talk to your teacher. Most folks have sort of figured out how to make things work. We do have a couple of folks that literally have like 12 students in their morning and then 12 students in the afternoon. And so it'll be challenging if, like, let's just say, for example, I have my 12 slots in the AM for in-person already filled, and a 13th person from my distance learning has changed their mind, and after hearing how the school is going to set up and the childcare, and they say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and send my child to school. I want to send my kid to school too. And at this point, obviously, we would not be sort of in a bind, right? Because we would either have to uh, move that child into a different teacher's classroom that might have space, or we would have to figure something else out because obviously the teacher can't accommodate three different groups, right? Like two in person and one distance learning. They can only accommodate two groups of any kind of variation.
Yeah. And just to be honest with you, it is actually much easier to move into online because all teachers have a cohort B that's online, except one teacher. So it's always easier to do that than it is to switch from online and so on.
To improve.
There was a question about changing, like let's say they're not happy with in person or whatever it is, will they be able to switch?
Yes, yes. So the district has structured it so that every 2 weeks, people can sort of opt into a different structure, which is very nice of the district to do. And then on the practical side of things, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. What happens if I get a large number of shifts? I'm like, that will get interesting. So I don't want to give anybody this false impression that, hey, you're guaranteed we'll make it work. We're going to do the best we can to make it work. But then at the same time, we have limitations to what we can do. But we will do our best to try to figure out how to make things work for people. And I just hope you guys can just be patient with us and understand that things may not be perfect all the time. So just bear with us as we try to sort of navigate this world of trying to meet the needs of a lot of different people.
All right. We do have a question that's not necessarily about reopening, but more about fall. What is it? Has the district spoken about what it will look like in the fall?
We're just trying to make it through the spring. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. I can tell you, I'm hopeful that it'll be more, it'll be closer to something that's more normal. I mean, I know that a lot of people have heard about the CDC sort of lowering the restrictions to 3 feet. At 3 feet, that would be pretty much a game changer in terms of how we can structure the classrooms, which would almost allow us to basically allow all of the students in the classroom at one time. So if things continue with the way things are going in terms of like cases that are sprouting, ICU beds being used up, then I think it's very possible that we will have something even closer to what we normally have had in the past. Although, of course, there are no guarantees right now. There are a lot of variables. I'm sure that a lot of you are aware and you're keeping tabs on the news and you're hearing about the things that are going on in Europe and some of the challenges that they've had out there. So it would be irresponsible for me to say, yeah, I guarantee it's going to be so much better. All I can do is sort of look at patterns and where they are, and then speculate that if these things continue, like it's possible that we will make the appropriate accommodations. And given what the CDC has said, and given where our numbers are, I feel like, yeah, it is possible that we'll have something far normal, more normal in the fall.
Yeah, and that goes with question about starting the fall early and so on, because it was a part of the survey. So we still don't know. It has to be agreed upon by many stakeholders and then agreed upon by the school board.
Yeah, the calendar is a little tricky. So whatever the parents say, obviously that gets used as a part of the decision-making process, but it still needs to be played out with UTLA, with ALA, and the other bargaining units. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done with that, and we haven't even been told what our parents opted for. That's something that the district is using, and at some point, I'm assuming that once they've made a little bit more headway on the negotiation side of things, they'll let us know what's going to happen. My assumption is that before the school year ends, we will know what the calendar for next year will look like.
Any other questions at this time? No questions. Wow. let's get started.
Spring break. Mr. Mundo said he's heading to Florida.
No, I'm not gonna.
Nah, just kidding. No, we're all staying home. We've already been told by the district that we need to stay home.
So there's the quick question about what's the breakdown of kids returning versus kids staying remote?
We have roughly about 150 some odd students who are coming into the classroom in a AM structure, and we have one small cohort of I think it's about six or so students who are doing a PM in one of our classrooms. But yeah, we actually got pretty lucky. I was really happy that we weren't in a situation where we had to have large negotiations with larger groups of people who, we had to sort of broker some kind of a deal and a lot of changing of teachers. We had a few kids who unfortunately did have to change teachers, but it was very few kids. It was literally a handful of them. So that part was we were really fortunate, and I really appreciate our parents because you guys, when we interacted with you, you guys were super flexible and you were really helpful, and it's made things infinitely better in a time when it's very stressful right now, just trying to navigate everything, and so we really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. There's a quick question, also not regarding reopening, but Darcy, you heard that in-person graduation will be allowed. We were just talking about that right before we logged in.
Yeah, I mean, the district hasn't given us any guidelines. And of course, everything, again, sort of goes back to that sort of like where we are in a couple of months. But if things keep going the way they're going, again, I think it is possible that if we can do like a 6 feet separation, I was telling Mr. Moon that we do have a very nice outside area that's covered with some nice shady trees. And so it's very possible that we might be able to do like an outdoor graduation and still bring our families in and create like sort of like circles of pods for families to sit in. So I do think that is possible given the small class that we have graduating. So I'm definitely optimistic that we will be able to do that so that we can do something special for the kids. I think they've been through a really rough ride, in all honesty, for the last 12 to 13 months.
And we're going to be using a lot of sidewalk chalk to make circles. Question was, are all of the on-campus teachers vaccinated?
Yes, at this point, I think we only have one teacher who had some reservation, but all of our teachers, I believe, by the 23rd will have had their shot and their and will have had the 2 weeks for it to take full effect. So we're in really good shape.
You're welcome. All right, and yes, we are recording this session, and then we'll also send out, well, Lowell hopefully will send out the presentation as well, including the 2 videos that we showed as well. So hopefully you guys can show that to your students, make them feel calm about what testing will look like. They do not, by the way, I've seen them, they do not shove the swab into their nose. It's just right at the edge. We ask them not to blow their nose before they take the test. They actually want all that stuff. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that one. Did I hear rumors about LAUSD parents getting vaccines soon?
I know that as the state moves toward releasing the vaccination to everybody, which from what I've heard is late April, then the district sites that have procured vaccinations, our parents will have access to those. So stay tuned. You'll basically be given more options. Whereas most folks are going to, My Turn, the California website. You'll have an opportunity to go through like some of our district sites that are close by and that you can go and get tested. I think even like our local state government has also been providing some additional sites, and they've been asking. So if you currently qualify and you want to get a shot, If you send me an email, I can probably get you in through CD13. And then once our district sort of opens that up, then you'll be able to go on through the district website and schedule an appointment as well.
Lowell has a quick question about switching teachers. If we didn't hear from you, then our kids will stay with their current teacher? Question mark.
Yes. Yes, if you didn't hear from us, that means that you're staying with your teacher and that you got what you read.
All right. Any other questions at this time?
All right, everybody. Well, enjoy spring break. Be safe, obviously, and we look forward to seeing you back in about a week. And I will hopefully have some more information. More likely than not, I will be hosting another meeting either on Thursday or Friday of that week when we return, depending on when I get information. So just be on the lookout.
So Cruz, real quick, no, it will not be mandatory for students to get the vaccine. Just tested. They must be tested, but not have the vaccine. All right.